Lay police raid mini brothel in heart of city. West New Britain provincial government appeals for help for flood victims. And NCD police on standby for pre-Pacific Games operations.
This is National MTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
Good evening and welcome to Friday's news. Lay police today raided the old remains of the ANZ Bank at Toptown, Lay City, following reports of illegal activities practiced inside the building. Local sex workers and their clients have been using the ANZ building, which was destroyed by fire in 2011, as a mini brothel in the heart of the industrial hub. MTV's Sylvester Gawi has this report from Lay.
This is the old ANZ Bank in Lay's central business area. For the last 3 years, it has been used as a brothel to accommodate sex workers, their clients and other illegal activities. It was alleged that sex workers have colluded with security guards to use and pay for their illegal activities.
8, 9, 10 Blameri numbers are sabat. Islam money as a carimol gamna, wogi money up well section. Islam man gamna. Wogi money brave security again, also machine.
During a raid this morning, police confiscated several clothing materials belonging to the sex workers and their accomplices. No suspects were caught during the raid, but police claim the building is being used during the night to accommodate sex workers and also hide petty criminals. The condition inside the building itself is rundown. The dark stairways and rooms smells like a toilet pit, with waste all over the floor, posing a health risk for the nearby businesses and the hospital.
This lab also sleep. On caramel. Something curtain can put him on top of here. Put him on curtain. Also sleep here. I'm looking this lab come up with a prostitute area.
The raid this morning has again brought to light another big issue in the industrial hub that has been happening under the nose of authorities. However, the public has expressed widespread concerns, calling on relevant authorities to keep a checklist on rundown properties and other areas that are used for illegal activities. Sylvester Gawi, National MTV News, Lay.
Hundreds of passengers using the Ramu to Madang highway continue to remain stranded on sections of the highway following the collapse of 4 bridges. PMVs travelling to Madang town have been cut off, forcing passengers to find other means to cross. It has been 3 days since the submerging of all 4 bridges. Our lake crew was in Dampu, Madang, one of the affected areas.
This used to be the Dumpu Bridge. It was washed away by heavy floods on Tuesday morning. Now the collapse in this bridge has left passengers stranded on both sides of the highway.
This is a similar situation in Asas and Tesewai. Passengers coming into Madang from Morobe and other highlands provinces are spending additional amount of money to travel across all 4 bridges.
At the cross to spending 50 kilo now long, ikam long here now because low no tabagalap.
PMV bus operators and Bitonat vendors are the 2 most affected groups.
Some popular bridge and brook na broad na mibla safety boy. Me go some money, me spending more money lo boy back all karim, me pay more bus connection kamosem. So you know more good lah.
Classes in affected areas have also been suspended and electricity cut off.
And we affecting plenty all general public travel on this highway, Ramu Madang highway.
But the water level here keeps rising and falling. At noon today, the water level dropped, allowing at least 5 vehicles to cross. However, more rain is expected to fall, and it will take days before a temporary bridge can be built.
Police officers from the Ramu police station are currently monitoring the situation here. Unconfirmed reports states that over 100 people were displaced, food gardens washed away and houses destroyed. Takla Gunga, National MTV News, Ramu.
The West New Britain provincial government is appealing to organisations, government agencies and the public to help with donations to support affected flood communities. West New Britain Governor Sasindran Muthuvel said the damage caused by the flood has worsened. Governor Muthavel appealed to the national government for relief of funds and materials to support falling infrastructure, especially bridges.
Governor Muthavel told EMTV flooding conditions in West New Britain have gone from bad to worse in the past 3 days. He said heavy rain is experienced in the province around the same time every year, but this year's downpour has caused more damages to people in parts of Kimbe, Oskins and Biala.
With the continued heavy wind, it's like a mini tornado. It causes like a lot of houses to be damaged. In fact, a child in Buluma village was dead because of a fallen tree.
Governor Muthavel said relief assistance in cash or kind will be of great assistance to the provincial government and disaster office to rebuild people's lives. Two main bridges linking Biala have also been washed away, cutting off vital services and affecting the operations of palm oil companies, schools and health centers.
So there will be a shortage of fuel and food in Biala town if we suppose restoring Ariaplo, Disla, Tupla Bridge, Thiavuru and Ivule.
The Indian Association of Papua New Guinea has committed 25,000 kina, which will be handed to the West New Britain provincial government soon. All cash donations can be made to this account: West New Britain Provincial Government Disaster and Emergency Trust Fund, account number 6,355,007, Westpac Bank, Kimbe Branch.
Advise that all the assistance received will be publicly acknowledged, and also the acquittals, the expenditure report will be printed in the social media for the purpose of transparency.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Governor Muthavel said West New Britain contributes a significant portion of revenue to the country's purse, and that must be considered. He said the national government must build enduring infrastructure in the province like bridges. West New Britain is the largest palm oil developer in the country. It will host the next PNG Games and be part of the proposed New Britain Highway.
National government should reciprocate, the same amount of reciprocate in recognition of our contribution to the national government, and do some permanent infrastructure facilities for us.
On a similar note, sections of the Hiritano Highway outside Port Moresby continue to deteriorate as rain causes flooding in the area. But roads have also affected truck owners, prompting businessmen to urge government authorities to fix the road.
All car come, people are going to Lawara, come out, go on bumpy roads. It's very, very, very bad.
Nika Pino is just one of many truck owners and businessmen who travel 3 to 4 times a day on the Hiritano Highway. Nick says the road is a national road, but little to no consideration has been given to fix and maintain sections of the road.
I think the government should do a better road than this one here. We are moving into 2050 visions, and yet we are going right back,
Nick's PMV broke down for the 3rd time this week due to potholes turning into large pools. He says big construction companies also use the road without any consideration of helping authorities maintain the road. He says most PMV truck owners are now feeling the pinch of high cost of buying spare parts to maintain their trucks.
We give service and then we survive. And if the road is like that, we spend a lot of money. Instead of making profits, no, we are losing.
The Hiritano Highway is a trans highway which will link Morobe and the Highlands region and the recent Sembrigi to Kikori Highway. PMV truck owners and businessmen along the Hiritano Road want the central and national government leaders to swiftly allocate funding and maintain the road. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
And in the news ahead, police to begin pre-games operations. Also, a new credit scheme for the police and Bougainville, a priority for the national government. Stay with us. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. With only 113 days to go till the grand opening of the 15th Pacific Games here in Port Moresby, Disciplinary forces tasked to handle security for the event are resolute to ensure a safe and enjoyable event for all. NCD Police has revealed that part of its preparation for the event is to launch a pre-games operation which will carry through towards the actual games.
NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Andy Bauer said the pre-games operations will give officers and the public a feel of how the games operations will be conducted and encourage everyone to ease into the routine for the big event. Workshops and trainings are currently being conducted for the police dog unit and mobile squad, while other divisions and those in command are expected to commence their in-house training shortly.
The preparations I know is fully underway. We will of course as part of the security plan is to involve the PNGDF as well as the Correctional Service. Progress has been made.
The Pacific Games is expected to draw a strong crowd of 20,000 people daily at various sporting venues throughout the city over a 15-day period. This includes athletes, officials, spectators and dignitaries from over 21 neighboring Pacific nations. The Games will be PNG's major international event for 2015 and warrants a high level of security. A hefty budget of 50 million kina has been allocated by the government for security, of which 30 million kina was used to purchase transport and communication equipment, while the remaining 26 million kina is yet to be released.
The participants coming from all over the Pacific, they hear a lot about law and order issues in Papua New Guinea, but it's not as bad as what they hear, So let's show them that Papua New Guinea is, of course, is a good country.
The Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary will be assisted by the PNG Defence Force, Correctional Services and other officers who will be deployed from outside centres. However, Mr. Bawa assures that the commencement of the Games operations will not affect normal day-to-day business at each respective police station. Once finalised, the public will be notified through the media on the pre-Games operations. Vanessa Knight, National EMTV News.
Police Association members now have an opportunity to borrow money from a newly created credit-registered organisation. The credit scheme came about following an increase in the number of police personnel borrowing money from loan sharks and finding it hard to repay the loans. The Police Association can now be able to lend money to members with a low-interest repayment.
According to Police Association executives, as prices of goods and services have increased in the cities, public servants, like everyone else, are forced to borrow money from black markets and the banks. However, as it becomes difficult to repay the money, the workers stay away from work to avoid loan sharks. This has affected work performances. They say it's an unfortunate trend, but a reality of what is happening on the ground. They say it's worse when strangers have access to bank cards of workers, even the PIN numbers.
Thank you, Minister. We really appreciate your initiative, your incentive, and I know this program will gradually move on to other agencies, other departments to assist our workforce.
Yes.
Together with the Forest Ministry, the 30,000 kina injection to the Police Association will enable members to borrow at ease. For instance, every 100 kina borrowed, the profit will be 10 kina.
The scheme whereby you can put your contribution in saying thank you to the policemen and policewomen who have been assisting you in your time of duty, in your call of duty throughout the country.
The idea to establish the credit fund was put together by Forest Minister Douglas Tomuriesa, who upon taking office noticed his staff would frequently stay at home to avoid debt collectors. He first introduced the credit scheme to his ministry and now has extended it to the Police Association.
To the Police Association, that it is very important that we are honest in what we do.
From the initial capital of 7,000 kina, the credit scheme at the Ministry of Forest has doubled to 14,000 kina, bringing to light the grim reality that public servants continue to borrow money to sustain themselves in the city. Minister Tomuriesa has extended the invitation to other members of parliament to fund such schemes as public servants are present in every district. He has plans to next introduce the credit welfare scheme to the Nurses Association. Bridget Komatap, National EMTV News.
This year, UPNG will celebrate important events at the university. Now, this includes their 50th anniversary and playing host to visitors of the 2015 Pacific Games. Vice-Chancellor Professor Albert Mallam told students to remain focused in their studies.
Vice-Chancellor Professor Albert Mallam, in his welcome speech, told students and lecturers to be proud of who they are as Papua New Guineans and to be responsible as citizens of Papua New Guinea. He also reminded them to be mindful of what they would like to achieve.
I want to encourage you to focus on your studies by living with you as takeaway for something for you to think about is your attitude.
However, he said poor performing staff and students must be responsible for their work ethic. He encouraged students and staff to maintain themselves in taking a step forward and to reflect on their attitudes, to be more focused and respect each other.
We talk about students and students' performance, but we are going to monitor very closely staff members and their performance.
He told both the academic and non-academic administration staff to focus on their work and not to be slack or sidetracked by other things. He also touched on lecturers and students' attendance, as per his observation, stating that students and lecturers need to start being on time for classes. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
Morata Primary School in the nation's capital has sounded alarm bells on corruption involving contractors tasked to work on the school's projects. The school has seen little development to its infrastructure for the past 2 decades. They claim contractors have used the school's name to receive money from the education department without any work being done.
Incomplete teachers' houses and classrooms given insight into the crisis facing Morata Primary School. The school has been left high and dry by contractors who failed to complete these projects. The 6 teachers' houses was a commitment made by NCD Governor Poes Pakop. However, the project remains incomplete with the contractor nowhere to be found.
And Governor has made a commitment to put up his 6 teachers' house. He's still idle there, standing there very tall, out in that tall grass there. Still, Governor is to come. We are still praying for him to when he's going to come. He has to come. He has to let us know. Up till now, there's no such projects going in here.
Much of the school's infrastructure was built in the 1980s. The only development was a double classroom built in 2002. The school board claimed 3 contractors have recently submitted claims to the Education Department for funding of a new double classroom. Headmaster Philip Tiki has warned the Secretary for Education, Dr. Michael Tapo, not to entertain these claims as there is no justification.
Neil, that's why we had a rumors. Somebody from the Pingo office rang us on a list. There was about three contractors belong to different companies and put their claims in here, telling us that there's a claim in here. But there's nothing happening here.
Student numbers have also increased to 17,000 this year, with a teacher-student ratio of 1 teacher to 70 students. Tiki says the double classroom claimed to be built by contractors would have solved this problem. However, there is nothing on the ground. The school has 29 teachers, of which only 1 resides on the school premises. The staff houses, if completed, could have saved the life of one of their teachers killed last year. Tiki describes this as corruption and wants immediate investigations carried out by relevant government agencies. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
15 staff from the National Housing Corporation have been suspended following the Tokarara eviction saga. Among them is NCD and Central Province Property Manager Edwin Oropa.
Following the Tokarara eviction late last month, 15 officers from the National Housing Corporation were suspended from duty by Managing Director John Dege and Housing Minister Paul Ezekiel yesterday. Attempts to get comments from the Managing Director and the Minister were not successful. However, it is believed the 15 officers, including Property Manager for NCD and Central, Edwin Oropa, were suspended for their involvement in pursuing the eviction of 4 tenants at Tokarara. The green light for that eviction was given by Mr. Dege. However, after the eviction was carried out, he reversed the decision, asking the evicted tenants to reoccupy the house. The tussle between the new and old tenants has been going on for weeks until yesterday when all parties came to a compromise. The old tenants were reinstated back to the property and the new tenants were promised space at the new Duran Farm housing estate. Mr. Dege said he was not advised properly when issuing the directive for the eviction. He said there is another lot of flats occupied by staff of the National Planning and Finance Department in the same vicinity which owe NHC over 1.2 million kina in rentals, and he was of the opinion that he was signing eviction for residents of that flat. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says that Bougainville will now become a priority on the national government's agenda. This was the assurance given by the Prime Minister at the joint supervisory body meeting of the national and autonomous Bougainville government in Ottawa today. And now we check out the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3775 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your kina was fetching $0.37, $0.4773 Australian dollars, €0.3442 euro, and 44.57 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and coffee closed higher, while cocoa and copper closed the day lower. Meanwhile, palm oil and crude oil closed lower as well, while copper closed the day higher. And lastly, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 260 points higher, the ASX closed at 36 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 28 points lower. Stay tuned, you're watching National EMTV News tonight. After the break, we'll bring you more local and international news. Good to have you back with National EMTV News. Yanta landowners at Morobe's Bulano district yesterday witnessed the official swearing-in of executives. The executives will represent Yanta people in major discussions with the Morobe Mining Joint Venture for any developments in their area. Local member Sam Basil also called on the executives to make critical decisions on the Wafi mining project.
Yanta Landowner Association in the Bulolo district comprises of the Yanta, Hangabu and Babwaf village clans. This landowner association will be in close contact with Morobe Mining Joint Venture for management and operation works at the Wafi mine.
Good luck to President working. Plenty time stop here, when we continue working more like a talk. But you touching long, side long, some education, side infrastructure, and this line something, and those are the key areas too. Side long, company, The
people of Yanta are seeing this as an avenue that will allow for more basic services delivery into this rural part of Morobe. Such services include health and education. Harry Mangan, the president of the Yanta Association, also called on Morobe Mining Joint Venture to allow full participation from the local community. Who engulfs Babwaf clan will be working alongside Bulolo's Yanta and Hangabu clans. These newly elected members of the association have chosen the Yanta clan to lead the liaisons between Morobe Mining Joint Venture and the provincial level. Bulolo MP Sam Basil challenged the landowner executives to carry an integrated leadership role for the best interests of the Yanta people.
You must make sure that all the money got shareholding, you must get constitution, now good governance, corporate governance issue, bro. Morobe mining, now Morobe provincial administration, MRA only like him, all this plus something he must come up.
The Wafi mine through Morobe Mining Joint Venture is expected to generate revenue for both the government and the district level of Bulolo. Colin Barilai, National EMTV News, Leh.
The government state-owned enterprises are encouraged to work collaboratively in making sure financial returns to the government are maximized. Independent Public Business Corporation Director of Investments, Dr. Mosi Sao, says when SOEs do business in partnership, it generates more dividend back to IPBC and then to government. Dr. Sao said this during the lease agreement signing between Post PNG and PNG Dataco, in Port Moresby today.
When state-owned enterprises pay their dividend to the Independent Public Business Corporation, it helps it grow. IPBC then returns a certain percentage back to the government, which is then budgeted for health, education, law and order, and infrastructure developments around the country.
It's very important for us because we want to grow IPBC's accounts and cash and profits. We'd like these companies to succeed, so they pay a dividend back to IPBC that we can give to the government, because IPBC represents the government of the day, which in turn represents every one of you.
IPBC Director of Investment, Dr. Sao, encourages SOEs to do business as a group, capitalizing on resources and infrastructure that government businesses already have. He said this during a lease agreement signing between Post PNG and Dataco Limited, a new state-owned business developed to provide wholesale telecommunication transmission services both domestically and internationally. The agreement now makes way for PNG Dataco to rent space from Post PNG to host its customer point of interconnect in Port Moresby.
Post PNG will help us in logistics, in moving those containers up. And then where we put our equipment, they call it CPI containers, we will put some into those locations where Post PNG exists now.
Post PNG Chairman Ruben Ayla says technology is advancing, thus they are innovative, and calls on other SOEs to make use of services Post PNG have to offer, especially logistics.
As you know, we are mandated by the government and all that, and we'd like to be the government logistics operator and all that. We appeal to all our state-owned enterprises to work with us to move everything and anything throughout the world and to the districts and everywhere. And this is the first of its kind with our sister company, Dataco.
The ceremony was attended by Post PNG Chief Executive Officer Graylin Park and PNG Dataco Managing Director Paul Comboy. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Turning overseas now, top intelligence chiefs in Nigeria have predicted that the war on Boko Haram is nearing an end. On Wednesday, 2 senior intelligence officials from Nigeria's National Intelligence Agency said the situation has improved tremendously and that the war could be won before the elections in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, in an unverified video released yesterday, ISIS accepted a pledge of allegiance made by Boko Haram last week. Boko Haram is behind thousands of deaths, as well as the kidnapping of 200 schoolgirls last year since the group's uprising in 2009. The first solar-powered aircraft has begun its flight around the world, taking off from its first stop in Oman in the Arabian Peninsula. The aircraft, known as Solar Impulse 2, is estimated to travel around the world in 5 months.
Swiss nationals Bertrand Piccard and André Borschberg are piloting the single-cabin, zero-fuel aircraft during the flight. The aircraft is decked out with 17,248 solar cells that power 4 electric motors. The solar cells are able to store energy from the sun during the day, enabling the Solar Impulse 2 to fly at night. Landing in India, the second stop on the journey where they will remain for a few days and campaign the message of clean technologies, the pilot's message on solar energy is stronger than ever.
That's it at 17:55 GMT. Bertrand Piccard has landed at Ahmedabad International Airport. The second leg, after 2 days, is in the bag. Congratulations, Bertrand Piccard. And all the team.
The pair has permitted themselves only 20 minutes of catnaps and will face 5 months in a 3.8 cubic meter cockpit. The support team for the expedition is well drilled, with the central control room based in Monaco and a group of engineers that follow the plane around the globe. The expedition is grand and the cause is noble, as evidenced in the expedition's mission statement, which reads, Solar Impulse wants to mobilize public enthusiasm in favor of technologies that will allow decreased dependence on fossil fuels and induce positive emotions about renewable energies. Calling the world's attention to the striking potential of solar power, Solar Impulse 2 will make stopovers in Myanmar and China before crossing the Pacific Ocean, the US, and Southern Europe to arrive back in Abu Dhabi. Alana Lay, EMTV World News.
In Queensland, Australia, Cyclone Nathan has caused some flooding in the state's far north. There have been no reports of major damages.
Category 2 cyclone is hovering about 100 kilometres northeast of Cape Melville and is forecast to start moving out to sea today. A warning remains current between Lockhart River and Cape Flattery. Some of the heaviest rain has been near Cooktown, where Nathan's dumped about 250 millimetres over the past 24 hours.
Meanwhile, Vanuatu is preparing for a powerful cyclone with winds of up to 165 kilometres an hour and expected to strike the capital, Port Vila.
Fiji's tropical cyclone warning centre, Cyclone Pam, has intensified and become a maximum Category 5 system. It's not expected to make landfall, but still has the potential to cause immense damage. Torrential rainfall and flooding is forecast for low-lying areas, and landslides are also expected.
We have Trukai Sports that's coming up next. All the details after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The PNG Cricket Office today announced the final squads for the 2015 National Regional Men's Championships. The tournament will run from the 20th to the 22nd of March in Lae City, Morobe Province. Teams competing in the three-day 2020 tournament are Team NCD Avala, Team NCD Lahara, Team Morobe and Team Combined 11. This year will be slightly different, with only 4 teams competing, with each team allowed a maximum of 2 players over the age of 30.
Team Morobe will be looking to defend their title after claiming the inaugural National Regional Championships last year. Strong competition will come from the 2 NCD teams who have filled their teams with past and present PNG national players, including current PNG Barramundis player Raymond Hawoda Jr. and Kabwa Vagi Morea. Team Combined 11 features the best players from Central, Oro, Milembe, Medang, Western Highlands and West New Britain. Cricket PNG Game Development Manager and Tournament Director Kayan Loku said the caliber of players named this year will definitely increase the standard of play. Former New Zealand Test cricketer and current Cricket PNG head coach Deepak Patel, along with former PNG Barramundis captain and current Cricket PNG chairman of selectors Apileka, will be present at the tournament to oversee the talent on show. Visiting teams will fly into Lae on Thursday, with the first round matches scheduled to take place a day after, while the grand final is scheduled to take place on Sunday the 22nd of March. All matches will be played on the Showgrounds Oval and the Unitec Oval. The National Regional Championships were held last year for the first time, with Team Morobe defeating Team NCD in the final to claim the inaugural title. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
Port Moresby Rugby League Nines will head into pre-season finals this weekend at the Murray Barracks Oval. Normal rounds ended last weekend, with top teams entering the knockouts tomorrow. MTV's Elijah Levette has more on this report.
The Rugby Nines will kick off tomorrow with the men's tiebreaker between Hola 2 and Big A Warriors at 9 a.m, followed after by Double Warriors 2 and Robbie Raiders before heading into the final playoffs. The top 2 teams from 8 pools in the men's division will be vying to win the cup in the grand final. Officials have selected the top 2 teams from each pool who will compete in the knockouts. There are 4 team finalists in the women's division. Butterflies, Connie Tigers, Royals and Defence will be playing for the cup. There will also be playoffs for the men's and women's bowl. 3rd and 4th placing teams from each pool will be involved in this contest. Winners will take home prize money of up to 20,000 kina and the cup sponsored by MRDC. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League, and the SPPNG Hunters will head into round 2 of the Intrust Super Cup this weekend, sitting at the top of the ladder after their demolishing of the South Slogan Magpies. The Hunters will be looking to be more consistent in their second season after having a roller coaster debut last year.
The SPPNG Hunters are looking to maintain the form they showed last weekend in the season opener, defeating South Logan Magpies in a massive 40 points to 18 scoring frenzy. Head coach Michael Marum, while happy with the team's performance in last weekend's huge win, said there is still room for improvement and the team needs to capitalize on ball possession and the basics to be able to compete with the best teams in the competition. The Hunters will be playing host to the Redcliffe Dolphins at home in what should be an exciting encounter. In round 15 of their debut season, the Hunters had to show a lot of resilience and character, coming from behind to beat the Dolphins in a pulsating 43 to 36 point victory. With a strong Kokopo crowd, the match is sure to draw excitement. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
To NRL, tough start to the season for Manly, thumped by the old enemy Parramatta by 30 points, and after all the added off-field drama, Manly is now relishing the prospect of taking on their modern rivals Melbourne Storm at Brookvale Oval tomorrow night. The Sea Eagles are likely to lose their star halves at the end of the season, and the coach says the team wants to send them off on a high note.
These truly are head-scratching times for Jeff Tuvey, with daily Cherry Evans Gold Coast bound and Kieran Foran linked with a lucrative move to Parramatta.
It'd be a boring a week if there wasn't something in there about the Manly club, I suppose.
The off-field issues have been so prominent that Cherry Evans needed a reminder that Foran was out with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, I forgot Kieran's not playing this week.
The halfback knows some Manly fans aren't happy with his decision to join the Titans.
That's really not of my concern. I've got a job to do, and if people don't want to support me while I'm doing it, that's up to them.
The coach says team harmony will be fine, even if both halves aren't at the club next year.
The players are all good friends here, and they want to make sure we send people away on a high note, and that's all they can do.
After a storm of contract controversies, a game against Melbourne comes as a relief.
I can't wait to get out there and play a good Melbourne side.
South's coach Michael Maguire's confident he won't have to worry about captain Greg Inglis being lured by big money offers from French Rugby Union.
He really enjoys this club and he loves playing rugby league, so for the next 2 years he's really focused about becoming a great leader inside our team.
Maguire says his men will be wary of old rivals the Roosters making a fast start in Sunday's game.
And True Kai Sports ends on that note. The weather details for the next 24 hours when we come back. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in southern region, rain expected in Daru, Kerema and Port Moresby, showers plus rain expected in Alatau and Popondetta. In the Momase region, all centres to look forward to showers then rain. In the New Guinea Islands, all centres rain. And in the Highlands region, all centres to look forward to light showers. Forecast for small ships, there is a storm-force wind warning, currents for all coastal waters of Western Gulf and also the coastal waters of Western and Central provinces. Current for all inland areas to Torres Strait and Western Province, and also all inland areas and coastal waters. Now there's also a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of Papua New Guinea which are not under storm force wind warning and gale wind warning except for Samarai Island to Cape Bogle to Huon Gulf. Looking at waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwa Island to Kerema to Yule Island through to Hood Point, seas of 3 meters to 4.5 meters. Waters east of Hood Point to Samarai Island to Cape Bogle through to Finschhafen, seas of 0.5 meters to 1.3 meters, rising to 2 meters to 3.5 meters over Finschhafen. Also waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 1.3 to 3 meters, rising to 2 meters to 3.5 meters over Kirrawinna Island, and waters of Finschhafen, including Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands through to Long Island, seas of 2.5 to 4 meters, waters of Long Island through to Madang to Bogia, Wewak to Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas of 3 meters to 4 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 2.5 meters to 3 meters. And lastly, waters of New Ireland to New Britain through to Bougainville, seas of 2.5 meters to 4 meters. An ocean forecast for PNG areas: Coral Sea, seas very rough to high with southwest winds at 34 to 55 knots, reaching 65 knots at times. Also, Solomon Sea, seas rough to patches of very rough weather with westerly winds at 25 to 34 knots, increasing to 48 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas rough with northwest winds at 34 to 48 knots. And Pacific Ocean, seas rough to very rough with northwest to westerly winds at 25 to 48 knots. A local story before we go. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says that Bougainville will now become a priority on the national government's agenda. This was the assurance given by Prime Minister at the joint supervisory body meeting at the National and Autonomous Bougainville Government in Ottawa today. EMTV's Fabian Hakelitz files this story from Ottawa.
The 2015 Joint Supervisory Body meeting in Ottawa today marks a new level of engagement between the national and autonomous Bougainville governments. It was only a click to remind button for the national government to honor the Bougainville Peace Agreement. Bougainville President Chief Dr. John Mumis highlighted several issues that need to be settled by the national government. One critical area was the level of funding assistance.
I'm appealing to both parties to make it happen for the Bougainville people. We need to work together within the framework of the Bougainville Peace Agreement.
However, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says the national government is aware of Bougainville's issues and made serious commitment to rebuild the autonomous region. The meeting was assured Bougainville will become a priority agenda with more support provided to ensure its referendum quest is achieved.
As part of the peace agreement or during the meetings that we have had since. That includes the SIF funds, the RDG funds, and of course, in addition to the ongoing recurrent expenditure.
Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News, Ottawa.
Now, before we go, quickly recapping our main headlines again tonight. Lae police raid mini brothel in the heart of Lae City. Also, West New Britain Provincial Government appeals for help for flood victims, and NCD police on standby for pre-Pacific Games operations. Well, that's how we end another working week. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Tokana Hasavi. You take care and have an enjoyable weekend. Good night.